127 laps complete. Matt Kenseth, Jeff Gordon, Kyle Busch. Text RACE to 75555 to get your NASCAR Love ringtone, or go to jamster.com, keyword race, for details. Tony Stewart has walked out of the infield care center after a hard crash. Chris Devoda is with him.
Tony Stewart has just walked out of the infield care center. Tony, Jeff Gordon said on his radio, ouch, that looked scary. How scary was it? How hard of a hit? And which part of you hurts the most?
Just more legs down from my hips down. Just, I mean, that's the hardest one I've taken in a long time. It just blew a right front, I guess, and went straight. I mean, it didn't try to turn or anything. It was just a real tight part of the corner, but it hit so hard, it's got my lower back sore and it made my legs almost feel about half numb, just tingle until we got to the infield care center. So, and we smacked it yesterday. I tried to knock the fence down yesterday in the nationwide race and thought I had made some ground on it and tried to finish it off just there, but it shows how good the softballs are. They don't go anywhere still. Well,
the fence is still standing, and so is Tony Stewart.
Thanks, Krista. Here's what Tony was talking about yesterday in the Candy Apple Red number 20.
That was a hard lick on the driver's side, but once again, right there in the area of that safer barrier.
And here's the crash today at lap 109.
Man, oh, every time I see that, it gets harder.
Tony was helped from the car. You don't see the ambulance in the picture. You may question that. That's because the ambulance is parked down at the bottom of the banking. Rescue workers figured the safest thing to do, help him to a seat since he was ambulatory, and then get him to the care center rather than risk getting that ambulance way up there or anything else.
And we certainly give a lot of credit to the safer barrier, and rightly so. But there's a lot of other things. You know, the Hans device, the head neck restraint device, the cockpit of these race cars, seats like the Joy of Seating, Randy the Joy's building for a lot of these guys. All those things factor into Tony Stewart being able to be interviewed about 10 minutes later.
There's a look at the Hendrick seat, which is made of carbon fiber, a somewhat similar design, but very encapsulating for the driver.
You know how much that seat cost? 10 grand. $10,000 for a seat. We used to pay a couple $100 for a seat.
Now, Jeff Burton has a reinforced aluminum seat.
Probably a Butler.
Several manufacturers of those. Brian Butler's company, one of the leading ones. And just a little bit of different thought on driver comfort and safety. And the seats extend all the way down about to the driver's ankles. There's very little of that driver's body that's not encapsulated.
See that thing right there? That's a headrest. And we used to put those on the seat, but we didn't make them that long, made them about that long. What we found out in a crash is when you sprung forward without the Hans, you come back around and caught your neck on the end of that thing, and sometimes it could cause you serious problems.
Daryl, at one time, those were not legal. You used to put Jeff Hammond in there before you leave pit road and bolt one on.
Yeah, we had a little one, you know, it was just a little bit of insurance if your neck got tired, a little something to lean on, but it wasn't legal. They wouldn't let you have it. Side mirrors, couldn't have a side mirror. Had to have a little wink mirror or a little car mirror. I just learned through the years.
Matt Kenseth keeps picking them up and putting them down. He has 2.2 seconds on Jeff Gordon, who is 0.6 of a second ahead of Kyle Busch, and closing fast is Dale Earnhardt Jr., who's moved up to 4th position.
Yeah, I like how this one's looking. Stay tuned for more NASCAR on Fox.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Chevy, the most wins in NASCAR history. That's an American revolution.
Matt Kenseth continues to lead. He's led 27 of the 140 laps so far. But the fastest car on track right now, behind Kenseth, behind Jeff Gordon and Kyle Busch, is Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's lapping in the 31:30s. Everybody else is in the 40s, 50s, or above. Junior is in 4th place ahead of Greg Biffle, Jeff Burton, Kevin Harvick, and back in 8th, Scott Riggs, who continues to have a great run.
That's a great run for that team, Larry. I mean, golly, it just shows. I think it shows what this car is capable of doing, though. With different teams getting the right setup, they can get up there and race.
Well, we know how important that relationship between driver and crew chief. I think Booty Barker, who we talked to earlier, is a good mix with Scott Riggs, and then the guy right behind him, Mark Martin, in that 8 car, qualified third, won the Nationwide Series race yesterday. He's staying right up there in the top 10.
That's a little worrisome for me if I was a driver that Mark Martin is still lurking him back there in the 7th or 8th spot.
In 10th, Bobby Labonte has run in the top 15 all day for Richard Petty. He's about 13 seconds off the lead right now.
That's a backup car. They crashed in practice on Friday, so great job by that whole group.
Yeah, and Jeff Mandering has come over there as a crew chief, and I think he's making some headway. I mean, they had a good finish at Daytona. Here they are running pretty good again today. That's a great turnaround.
Ryan Newman 14.5 seconds back, and in turn 2 a car is hard in the wall. It is Robbie Gordon. Boy, now there's a fellow who has had a tough couple of weeks.
Yeah, he didn't need that at all, that's for sure. Nobody does, but he really didn't.
He would be in the top dozen in points, but for a penalty imposed at Daytona. You see Gordon has changed to Dodge this year and had some parts problems. Look at the top right of the screen as Gordon comes into view.
Oh. Same look as Tony Stewart. Right front tire had to be down. The car would not turn. Now Robbie was running 1 lap down.
This looked like it popped it right front.
When Gordon switched manufacturers, they sent him some nose pieces for his race cars that had the same part numbers.
I'd say we're probably done for the day, but we'll see. Take a look at it.
Same part numbers as the approved parts, but were not the approved parts, and that cost him 100 points, 100 grand, and a 6-week suspension for his crew chief. The appeal will be heard this week of that penalty.
We within about 20 laps of what have been green flag stops. So here they come.
Let's start with Steve.
Well, Mike, DW said Mark Martin was lurking. They're going to make very small adjustments to this 8 car. Just a small chassis adjustment to tighten him up. Dick.
Greg Biffle running in position number 5. The car first was loose at the tail end. Now it's loose all over. They're going to try to fix it with air pressure. Krista.
Matt Kenseth said his car is good into the turn. He's just a little bit off in the center. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment to fix that. Matt?
Kyle Busch, who has the very first pit stall, he says his car is too free on entry. Please try to tighten me up. If you can't do it, don't worry about it. I'll drive it anyways. They're looking at small tweaks with an air pressure adjustment, and Mike also maybe a slight track bar.
You know, not all the sound and fury of NASCAR happens at 190 miles an hour. You'll hear the air wrenches hum as we crank it up on this pit stop. Matt Kenseth and Jeff Gordon side by side in the race off pit road. That's a close one.
It was a battle, absolutely.
Let's see who had the edge here. Matt Kenseth be back out front when we go green.